are you working upon anything that results in miniaturization of the solar panels? Because the size of the panels is prohibitive in case of high-rise buildings and buildings with multiple flats and all.
Yeah, so the whole industry as such, not just us, but the whole world, which is into the manufacturing of solar cells and modules, is working on this. If you go back to 1999 when we started module manufacturing, the efficiency of the solar cells was about 12.5 to 13%. Today it is at 23.5, and TOPCon is getting to 25.2. So to explain you in layman terms, just about 6 months ago, a solar module of a size of 2.2 meter by 1.1 meter used to be a 540 watt panel. Today in that same size you're able to do close to a 590 watt, which means 10% power output more in the same size. So this is what the industry is working on, how to improve efficiency. And when you look at the whole roadmap, today we are talking about 25.2% efficiency in TOPCon, but at lab level, at lab scale, we have already touched close to 30-31% in the industry as such. There is tandem cell manufacturing, there is HJT manufacturing, which are at lab scale. HJT tandem is close to 30%. And this is what the whole industry is working on. How you can produce higher output on the same space.
One more question related to the same. The maximum energy guzzlers are air conditioners in buildings and residences. Is there any program to address this problem of AC consumption through solar panels?
So I think the whole thing has changed once the grid interconnection started way back in 2010 or 11. Today, if you put solar on your rooftop and you're just feeding the power into the grid, it doesn't matter whether you are using an air conditioner or a refrigerator. What happens is that as long as there is sunshine, the solar power which is being generated, it gets used at your house. And if you've switched on an air conditioner, and if the amount of solar power coming from the panels is not enough, very seamlessly, without even you coming to know, the rest of the power will be drawn from the grid. So it's totally seamless. And let's say you're gone for a holiday for 10 days, the solar power which you're generating gets into the grid. Most of the states have net metering facility. So at the end of the month, whatever you produced and whatever you consume, you just pay the net of that. So today, we are totally away from this point that can solar run an air conditioner. It's not important, it's just that you're feeding power into the grid and you're drawing from the grid. And so if suddenly starts raining, no problem, you will get power from the grid. So it's that seamless.
Mr. Saluja, a couple of questions. You mentioned ingots and wafer. If you can give us some details on the capacity, the investment that you said you're trying out with a partner. Is it okay for you to mention the name of the partner? And what about the raw material that you're doing?
So ingot and wafer is again backward integration from solar cell. On CapEx side, if you want to set up an ingot wafer facility, is approximately 300 crores of investment per gigawatt. The partner we have tied up is, we have an NDA with them, so as of now we will not be able to disclose the name, but it's an international large partner whom we have partnered with, a technology partner which understands this ingot wafer business, and we will be setting up this plant in India in the next 12 months. We will start with wafer manufacturing of 2 gigawatt and then get into ingot manufacturing. And the raw material for this, as I had presented in my slide, about 75% of polysilicon is made in one country, but 25% is made outside China, so we have a choice. We are not dependent only on one country to buy our polysilicon from.
All right. You're looking at TOPCon, right? /HJT, what your presentation mentioned, but how far is HJT?
So the presentation, you have seen that there is one place where we have mentioned TOPCon/HJT, that is for the module manufacturing plant. A module manufacturing plant is technology agnostic. You could do TOPCon or HJT, but a cell manufacturing line is not technology agnostic. A TOPCon line is different, and an HJT line is a totally different technology. Now, TOPCon and HJT are more or less competing with each other. They are at similar efficiency levels. HJT is a far better technology in terms of the number of processes involved, but 90% of the world is still on TOPCon. They are not moving to HJT because the capex cost to set up an HJT line is almost double of a TOPCon line. So then, and you don't get a premium when you sell a solar module, be it an HJT or TOPCon. So I think HJT as a technology is good, but in terms of the capex spend, I think it's a couple of years ago that, a couple of years ahead that, the prices come down on the capex spend and people would start investing in HJT also.
And you mentioned you're setting up a plant in the US as well with a partner. You are right now exporting to the US market. What happens to your exports? Do they get impacted when you start producing in the
I
US?
leave it to Sri to answer this question.
So we believe there is enough market for both, but what the US local manufacturing does is it helps you play in the domestic requirement segment in the US. Like US is also building into a domestic segment and a non-domestic segment, number one. And number two, what we're also observing, we're currently seeing it in modules, is when you make it in the US, you get IRA benefits, right? And you also get a price premium because of that. For instance, if you make cells locally in the US, you get 4 cents per watt peak benefit, IRA benefit, which is rolled out by the government of the US, right? So that's the difference. So we believe there is enough gap, right? Because modules versus cell that both the exports and the local will do, but it will give you the flexibility and diversity to play in multiple segments within the US.
So what would be the ratio of domestic versus exports for you?
So we're talking about 2 years and hence. So at this point, it would be at best a guesstimate. So we're looking at say a 1 gigawatt plant is what we're looking at in the US. So I will leave it at that.
Just to answer your question, as of today, exports to US as far as our company is concerned in terms of revenue, it's less than 20%. US market is not the only market which we cater to. We have a large focus also in the Indian market, and the exports to US in our view will not get impacted because the market there is growing phenomenally like in India. We are setting up a 1 gigawatt cell facility to start with, but the demand in the US is far larger than 1 gigawatt. Our own partner with whom we are setting up the JV is growing from 1 gigawatt module to 4 gigawatt module capacity. So we don't see any impact on our exports to the US. At the same time, we are not highly dependent on the US market.
So what is which are the other markets that you export to right now, other than US?
The significant exports are only to the US, not to other markets are not very significant. So 80% of our sales are in the Indian market.
Great, thank you.
Good afternoon, I'm Gitanjali Kedia from sbtulsian.com. I see that your annual installed capacity and effective installed capacity has a gap. Will that narrow going forward? So when new products are started manufacturing by the company?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So when you look at the machines which make solar cells and modules, when you make a cell, you need wafers, right? The silicon wafers, they come in different sizes. The machines are capable to manufacture cells of a wafer size of 210 millimeter by 210 millimeter, which is called the G12 wafer. But 75% of the wafer supply available today is the 182 millimeter by 182 millimeter, which is called the G10 wafer. And the effective capacity and installed capacity, the gap is because we are producing the G10 or the M10 wafer and not the G12. If we move our line to produce the G12 wafer, the effective utilization will increase. But there is non-availability of G12 wafer as of today. Majority of the producers are producing M10. It's just that the machine is capable and planned for it to be future ready. That in case everybody moves to G12 in the wafer manufacturing, then we are ready with our equipment.
When you are doing backward integration, are you going for G12 wafer?
Yeah. So what the world in this manufacturing space has realized is that G12 is not the right size, because when you do a module with a G12 wafer, the size of the module becomes such large that it cannot be fit in a container. So it has shipping problems. And now the most economical or the most viable option is what is called as a G12R wafer, which is a 182 by a 210. So it's called a G12 rectangular wafer, not a square wafer. So the line which we are setting up, the ingot wafer facility, we start with wafer is going to be a G12R.
So for the time being, the effective capacity is what is to be seen.
Yes, yes. The utilization should be compared with the effective capacity, not the overall capacity.
Secondly, when the TOPCon facility comes up with the fresh issue proceeds, will the fixed asset turnover ratio be more towards 2.5x or 4x? I see that in Q1 this year, the turnover ratio is improved. So just
Yes.
want to understand.
Yeah, so our asset to revenue has improved because as I had explained you, solar cell lines take about 2.5 years to even construct and then 6 to 8 months to stabilize. So if you look at our last year FY23 numbers, because the lines were getting commissioned and getting stabilized, our asset to revenue has improved now. And this is a normal phenomenon when you manufacture solar cells as we keep growing capacity. But the target is that we continue to be at about 3.5 levels, asset to revenue.
Thank you.
Hi, sir. Swaraj from Money Control. Just want to understand the shares that were allotted to the investors, the money that was raised in September 21, the weighted average acquisition price is around 20 rupees. And in just a span of 3 years, now you are selling your shares at almost 450 per share. So what justifies this sharp jump in valuation expectations for the company in a span of 3 years?
Okay, so let's first talk about the PE fund which came in 21, which is GF Capital. Great people to work with. They really work and ensure that the company has a very clear roadmap in the way, in terms of governance, hygiene, in terms of the ESG focus. So great partners. We really had great learning from them. And in terms of the valuation, what they are getting, it is valuation is a book building process, and the valuation is not derived by them or us. It is derived by the BRDMs, and this is something which the BRDMs go to investors and come back to us, and whatever they get is what they get, and we are happy for them.
Also, on your debt position with all the capex plans, since you are not using any fresh issue for repayment of any loans, so what will the debt situation be with the new capex that you just said 3,400 crores that you are going to do, and how that impacts your finance costs?
Yeah, so as I told you, IREDA, we have a very, very long relationship. Finance costs are quite competitive, and today we are at 1.43 debt to equity, and we will continue to be as efficient as possible in utilizing the debt. The debt for this project is already sanctioned. That's about 2,200 crores. It's a 1/3, 2/3 kind of equity and debt which is coming in, and yeah, so I think we will continue to be as efficient as possible in utilizing the debt and keeping the debt to equity as low as possible.
Thank you.
Online. Mr. Raviranjan Prasad from Deccan Chronicle. Why did you choose Telangana as a manufacturing base, and we have heard that you got a lot of incentives from the state?
So we chose Telangana because we have been there for over 5 decades now. My family has been in Telangana since the 1948 or so. I was born there. We like the place, we like the people. The incentives which we got from the Telangana state government were quite robust. They had given us land in a fantastic industrial estate which is called the E-City, the Electronic City, and it's a place where we've got the ecosystem is really good. We get manpower easily, and we're happy to be there. There's no specific reason to be in Telangana, and we keep expanding there because operational efficiencies are much better if you are at the same location. But for our ingot wafer facility, we are looking at other options, and we have still not finalized.
Second question, how is the demand from the US, and are you looking to expand in other markets of the world?
So the demand from US is quite robust. Like I touched upon in my slide, US is adding about close to 40 gigawatts of module capacity year on year, and it's amongst the top 3 fastest growing markets as far as solar installations is concerned. So definitely doing very well, and if you double click into that as a market and the need for cells versus need for modules, the gap in cells is much more, almost 8x the difference in terms of local module capacity versus local cell capacity currently. So, and that's what we've been leveraging and intend to leverage as we go ahead. In terms of other markets, like Chiranjeev mentioned, we are very keen on maintaining our current portfolio, which is very well diversified with a very strong domestic market demand of about 80% of our sales contribution, and US is actually less than 20%. So we would want to keep that healthy rate going. But as we see some offshoots coming in from some of the other geographies, we will continue to pursue and take those opportunities.
The Indian government's recent initiatives have led to several players entering this field. What makes Premier Energies different from the peers?
So, yeah, the government initiative has been very robust, very encouraging. What differentiates us is that we have been in this space for 3 decades now, 29 years, so close to 30, and we have always been an early adopter of technology. It has been in our DNA to backward integrate and adopt the latest technology. We will continue to do this, and I think this is what is the differentiator. And we are happy that the industry is growing. We are happy that the ecosystem is being built. Many module manufacturers in India are our customers. We supply solar cells to them. So the more they grow is more business for us, and we are very happy about this.
What is the time frame for the execution of the current order book?
So order book is quite robust. As we presented in the slide, it's close to 5,960 odd crores. The execution timelines are about 18 months.
The solar industry has seen a lot of volatility in the raw material and component price and a lot of fluctuation. What is your approach and stand on this, and how do you mitigate the risks?
Yeah, so here it's not about my approach. The industry in India, in the solar manufacturing space, has matured over the several years. They have realized that this volatility is here to stay. So it's a general norm in this industry that contracts which are signed with customers have a variable pass-through clause. Even the customers understand this, and all contracts have variable pass-through clauses.
There was a pre-issue placement which had happened around 233. Would the bankers want to just oppose this with the price band now and give a rationale?
So, as highlighted earlier by Chiranjeev, I think this is a process that we as bankers follow. It is not only historical but also looking forward in terms of how the growth trajectory is. There is a lot of engagement with respect to the investors on the whole business model, and at the same time look at in terms of how some of the companies have traded in the past. So I think it's a combination of everything that decides the price range, which is what we are currently sort of offering.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite Mr. Sarun Agarwal, Co-Head Institutional Syndication for ICICI Securities Limited, to give the closing remarks.